Well, good afternoon. I believe we are live. Just a couple of things I need to sort out here, and then we'll be there. Just bear with me. And I think we're live this time. Firstly, let me apologise for not being live yesterday. As I said I was going to. I had surgery on Monday, and I'm one of these people that even though the doctor says, you're going to need to take 4 weeks break when you have abdominal surgery, I'm one of these people that thinks, that's just a suggestion. And I wasn't up to it yesterday. So this is just a quick one that we're doing today as well. And it's no use me teaching you all about self-care and looking after yourself and then not doing it myself. So let's jump into it. By the way, if you are joining me for the first time, my name is Grant Herbert, and I am the founder and global managing partner of the Professional Services Leadership Academy. And I have the pleasure of working all around the world with lawyers and other professionals in professional services firms, developing their leadership capabilities, their emotional intelligence. And we've been speaking in this series over the last, couple of months around these 9 crucial shifts that every person, every leader in professional services needs to make. And particularly what we've been focusing on, firstly, is the ones in the personal leadership area. Because leadership starts with leading self, right? I don't know about you, but I find that leading myself is the most difficult person I have to lead. And we've been talking about identity, and then we started talking about emotional intelligence. And this week, we're going to be talking about removing blind spots. And I don't know about you, but I've got plenty of them and had plenty of them. And I know through my corporate career and my military career before that, there were plenty of things that I sort of had an inkling that I might have known because other people would tell me things, but I didn't want to know it. I didn't want to believe it. But for me, the whole purpose of doing this, talking about removing blind spots, is I find that this awareness that we have, and we're working currently in that self-awareness quadrant of emotional intelligence. The awareness that we have about ourselves is so empowering. So the first thing we've got to be able to do is we've got to move past that fear of, I don't want to know what I find out, being, worried about it. Remember those 3 universal fears of not being enough, of not belonging and not being loved. If they're triggered by things that you find out about yourself, you can go, well, hang on a minute, I don't want to know. But let me tell you, as a leader of self and of others, you can have way more fun, less conflict, less stress, and be a more effective leader for yourself and for others when you have this level of awareness. So hopefully today, just like me, the scales can fall from your eyes. I can give you a little bit of assistance in being able to see some things that you perhaps need to see that will help you to be able to grow and change and become who it is that you're wanting to become right now. All right, so let me just flick over to here. So as I said, we're talking about accurate self-assessment. Now, here's the thing. There's things that you know about you, and there's things that you don't share with others, and we wear masks and all those things we've been talking about in our identity. So what I want to do very quickly today is just give you a process to be able to get really accurate. You see, yes, we talk about where we want to go. That's the results we want, but we've got to also know the reality, as in where are you right now? And then you've got something that you can, train and develop and fill that gap. So unfortunately, as I said, we're fearful of this, or we go around it in a way that's not helpful. All right, so let's have a look at it here and help you to identify your blind spots. As I said, we've all got blind spots. It's not something that you're weird because you've got them. Everyone's got them. I've got them. And I have less now than I did have before. And I'm more excited about them being uncovered than I used to be as well. So I do know this is a work in progress. As you're continuing to, rebuild that identity and feel okay with not being okay, you'll be able to get to that position yourself. Now, there is an amazing thing, which I didn't make up, called the Johari window. You can Google it, but I want to give you a little bit of a look at it here so you can understand the context of what we're talking about here. So there are things that are known to self, right? If we look at those on the left-hand vertical there. And there's things that are known to others. And sometimes those two don't meet and sometimes they do. So this Johari window is a great model for you to be able to understand this. So the first area is the facade. This is stuff that you know about you, but others don't know because you hide that. You put on a facade. You wear that mask. And as we know, the reason we're doing that is because we fear what other people think. That's the key one. Right, those three fears come in again. Then we've got the open area. You know it about you. Everybody knows it about you. It's out there in the open. There's an unknown area as well, which is not known to you and it's not known to others. And this area of behavior is deep in the unconscious, in the subconscious. And what I had to do and what you can do is you need to get some support. You need a coach or someone with those skills to be able to facilitate a conversation with you and open up a safe environment for you to be able to find those things. And let me tell you, this is the most enjoyable thing. When I get to work with people around the world, when I'm coaching them and we're having a coaching conversation, and my facilitation of that coaching conversation and asking powerful questions and stepping up for them allows them to get to a point where the scales fall off their eyes and they go, wow, that's why I do that. That's why I am the way I am. That is such an exciting thing. And there's normally, tears of joy and relief and a lot of emotion there. So that's an area which you're going to need some help. I know I did. But then there's the blind spots. These are the things that other people can see, but you can't or won't. All right, so the Johari window is a good place for you to get an understanding of this. All right, so here's the thing. What I wanted to just cover with you today, now that we've got that understanding, is how to get help from others. You see, there are people that you work with, there are people that you live with, there are people in your world that aren't you that see things differently to you. And just as we looked at in that Johari window, they fit in certain places. Now, depending on the relationships and depending on the strength of those relationships as to whether or not people will step up and tell you things that you may or may not want to hear. And the reason why I want to take you through a process that's going to help you to do that is it means that there's a better chance that you're going to have a great dialogue. So step one is for you to go, you know what? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. There's some stuff going on. I want to move beyond this. I'm working with this grant guy or whoever it is that you're working with, and I want to move forward. So I'm going to enlist the support of some people that are around me who care about me and have a vested interest in my success. All right? So to do that, we're going to talk about what I call the feedback loop. So when we normally look for feedback, it's not always that healthy. And I'll explain why. So the first thing that we do is we ask for feedback. We're all good at that. Well, we are better at that than the rest of the process most of the time. So you get up the courage, you get up to the point where you go, you know what, I just need to do this, and you ask. And you ask someone to go, hey, what do you notice about this, et cetera, et cetera. So you ask the question. Now, when you ask, if that environment's good, you get a good answer. But sometimes you don't like the answer that you hear. So the first thing that we want to do here is get past this problem we normally have of asking hearing and then rebutting. Because sometimes what you hear doesn't tickle your ears. Sometimes what you hear actually invokes emotions and thought patterns within you, and you react. All right, but we're all a work in progress. So what I want to do is I want to give you another way of doing that. So the next part of the process is when you ask is to listen. But to listen, not to find something that you don't like or find something to rebut, but to listen with an open mind, to listen with your data ears. And what I mean by data ears is you're just collecting their information. You're not taking it on as being true. You're not taking it on as being personal. You're just listening to what they say. All right, so ask, then listen. Then think about what it is that they've said. Now, the good thing about this is process now is slowing down to what it normally is. Normally ask for the feedback, they give it to you, go, hang on a minute, why would you say that, right? But now, instead of reacting, you want to be able to respond. So you want to be able to think about what they said because you want this to work for them as well as for you. So now we've slowed it down. So think about it. So think about why they might say that. Think about how this could actually be true. Think about the data as it's been given rather than think about what that means about you. Then thank them. Thank them for that. Thank you for giving me the feedback. I appreciate that. Now, by the way, in that process there, if there's something that you need some clarity on, so when you're thinking, you go, oh, that's interesting. Can you give me an example of that? That's interesting you say that. Can you tell me a little bit more? So it's not a matter of just hearing it and then moving on. It's about getting the clarity that you need. But then thank them. Hey, I appreciate you giving me that feedback. The next thing is to respond. So you can see now we've gone all the way from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock on our clock here before we've done the response. All right. Now, the response is to what you think you heard. So once again, you've been using active listening, listening to understand. And now you need to use some reflective listening as well to go, hey, so what I'm hearing you say is when I'm in this sort of a situation, I come across this way. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, great. Okay, so you're responding in a conversational way, not reacting and responding to whether or not you believe what they have said is true. The next thing you do is involve them in what you're going to do with it. Getting feedback is useless and frustrating unless you do something with it. Okay, great. So I appreciate you telling me that. Obviously, this is something that I need to work on, and I'd love to involve you in that process. So what I'm going to do, firstly, is ask you to give me some space to be able to make the change. It's not something that just because it's been brought to my attention now, I'm going to be able to flip the switch and it's going to change. But I want you to let me know if you notice me doing these things. Politely pull me aside and go, hey, you're doing that again, Grant, or whatever it is. Involve them in the process. Then change. Once again, pointless getting the feedback unless you make the change. All right, so we've asked, listened, think, thanked, responded, involved. Now we're making the change. Now, that change, as I said, needs support. It needs an environment like your coach would give you of support and accountability. So you've got that in that involvement process. And then follow up. Right? So in that involved process, you've set some boundaries around that and said, hey, I'm going to work on this over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and can I check in with you again and see what you've noticed that I'm doing differently? All right, so we're not talking about being better because better is a scale. We're talking about what do you notice differently? And, how is that supporting you? How is that helping you? So there you have. We need to ask for feedback, to uncover those blind spots. And then we need to use a process that's non-confrontational, that's actually empowering, not disempowering, and doesn't create that conflict. So ask, listen, think, thank, respond, involve, change, and follow up. So as I said, having this level of self-awareness, accurately understanding where your strengths and areas for development and possible change are is vital as a leader. You don't know everything and you don't have to. You can't see everything. You're going through, your conditioning, your experiences will push things aside. I know there were many times when I was going through the stages in my career where I was feeling less than and I had a low self-worth and, all those challenges that I went through. I came across, because I was putting on a facade, as being the most confident and capable person that you'd ever meet. And people just were flabbergasted when they found out the contrary. So once again, the good thing about getting people involved is they can show you with their feedback where you might be putting on a facade, where you might be actually putting yourself on, under, I should say, a lot of pressure that you don't need to. Where if they tell you, hey, as they did to me, wow, I've never thought that. You come across so confident. You come across this and that and whatever. And as I got to share with them then, let me tell you, that's exhausting because I'm like the swan. It might look good up here, but underneath the water, the legs are really, really shaking. All right, so that's enough from me for this live. I'd really love to get some comments. I'd really love to hear from you. And as I said, today was just about giving you, as we continue this series, a process. I don't want to give you information. I want to give you actionable processes that you can use. You've got this in the workbook. If you haven't got it already, get in touch with me and I'll give you a copy of it. But let's put those down. Some people even, they photocopy, print out the feedback loop and laminate it, right? It's such a powerful tool, and I'm totally okay for you to do that as well. So whatever you're doing for the rest of the day, have an enjoyable day. I'm really excited about the new group program that I am launching in June. I think June starts tomorrow. Yeah, it does. I'm launching in June. A lot of people asked me to put something together which was more of a group program that had, less necessity of time, but also of resource and finance, and I've done that. So I'm looking forward to that. So if you do want to get beyond, just spending some time with me with the snippets, and you want to get the depth and make those changes, I'll tell you about that once it launches. All right. I'm going to go now and sit down and rest my surgeried body, and I look forward to catching you somewhere again real soon. All right, see you then.